Hello again. Older people are prone to reminiscing fondly about the free and easy childhood they enjoyed when they wandered the streets all day with nobody watching over them, as compared to the modern generation who spend their days indoors staring at screens. This nostalgia is horribly misplaced. Old people are the survivors, the ones who made it through the hazardous childhood years of those growing up in the 1950s and 1960s. Many children didn't make it, though. There can be no doubt at all that children in the first 3 decades after the end of the Second World War had far more freedom than modern kids. They spent a lot more time out and about in the streets without adults. This included playing with their friends after school and at weekends, as well as walking to and from school. In 1971, for example, over 80% of 7 and 8-year-olds walked to school alone. 20 years later, this figure had fallen below 10%, and today it would be surprising to see any 7-year-old arrive regularly at school having walked there alone. Indeed, so unusual would this be that it would almost certainly be the object of unfavourable remark by other parents, and probably teachers as well. If a child of that age habitually arrived at school unaccompanied by an adult, then it's entirely possible that social services would be notified. At which point, many baby boomers will begin muttering things like the nanny state and health and safety gone mad. Surely it makes sense that children should be given the chance to become independent and allowed without a lot of mollycoddling and fuss. After all, the baby boomers themselves didn't come to any harm, did they? Why shouldn't today's children be accorded a similar amount of freedom to that which was enjoyed 50 years ago? It definitely made for a more healthy lifestyle, didn't it? Being out and about all the time rather than just slumped in a chair staring at a screen. Well, not really. In an average year in this country, only about 20 young people under the age of 16 are knocked down and killed by cars. Of course, as any baby boomer will tell you, there were far fewer cars about during their childhood, which must have made the streets safer for them, or so we are supposed to believe. In 1965, over 900 child pedestrians were killed by traffic in Britain, s- which is somewhere in the region of 45 times as many children being killed crossing the road that year as are likely to be killed by cars this year. It can hardly be doubted that this was mainly due to the fact that so many young children were out and about crossing roads by themselves. This was part of the human cost of the baby boomers walking to school alone and playing out all day. In fact, the raw data for traffic accidents were a little misleading. The situation was even worse than it first appears. There were only a third as many cars on the roads 50 years ago as is now the case. This means that a car in 1965 was 135 times as likely to knock down and kill a child as a car today. A sobering thought indeed, and one which will cause us to raise our eyebrows at the idea that it will improve the health of modern children if they're encouraged to walk to school rather than travelling in cars. If children started playing out all day and walking to school by themselves, the first thing we would see before any fall in obesity levels would be soaring statistics for deaths and serious injuries among child pedestrians. Not just road accidents either. Letting children out by themselves leads to all kind of other accidents as well, from drowning to falling off rooftops. In 1970, deaths from accidental causes for children were running at 17.5 per 100,000 in England. 30 years later, this had dropped to 4.5 per 100,000, and it's now 2.7 per 100,000. In other words, about 7 times as many children were being killed accidentally in the 1960s as are now. Compared with the years when the first baby boomers were born, the situation is even more striking. 10 times as many children were being killed in accidents in the mid-1940s compared to today. When baby boomers complain, as regularly happens about health and safety, they do tend to forget rather how many children's lives are being saved by it. There's no real point to this video, other than to say that lately I've been hearing a few older people going on about how wonderful childhood used to be 50 or 60 years ago, and it strikes me that their memories must be failing. Don't even get me started about kids getting arms and legs broken, losing eyes through falling around unsupervised with air guns, fireworks, catapults, and bows and arrows.